Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. So I have been getting a lot of requests lately to do a getting started kind of video. So that's what I'm going to do. Basically, just going to show you guys some starting mechanics and things you need to know about Kerbal Space to try and get into space. So basically, you'd hit start game here. You set up your save game. You know, your name of your game that you want to have. I think you can set up multiples, which is pretty cool. So if you wanted to have like a test zone and then you wanted to have something more semi-permanent, you could have that. You know, like if you want to leave space stations up on your official one and then just have like one that you make ships and test them. That's pretty cool. You can definitely move the files around within your Kerbal Space save files. So. Once you have your save game set up, you just click on that save game file and hit continue. Now this is just your main menu, guys. Right down here is your flag. So I'll show you a little bit more about that. You can deploy flags on planets now with the latest update. And you can change the image file. So right here I have a couple of special images. This one is my current flag, Rafflecopter Space Program is my current flag right there. And you can go in the Kerbal Space directory and drop in your own image files, just based on the same size as the other flags that are there. But I believe it's Kerbal Space, Game Data, Squad, and then the flag folders in the Squad folder. So pretty straightforward stuff with that. And then once you're actually on an EVA on a planet, which is basically an EVA is when you stepped outside of your rover or your lander and you're on the surface of a planet walking around, you can deploy a flag, and that'll act as a point that you can always go back to and look. So if you find like an Easter egg or something, you might want to mark it with a flag, because that's pretty cool to be able to come back and check that out. So flags are really, really neat. This is your space plane hangar, or just space, you know, it could be just plane hangar. You don't have, doesn't have to be a space plane. A lot of people like myself build planes to fly around Kerbin, but basically the reason why it's like this is because it can be launched horizontal a little bit better, and you need the runway to go down it. So it's pretty cool. You can see there's like a little taxiing runway right there out of the hangar. So you build it inside the hangar, and then it'll taxi out to the runway, and that's where you launch at. This is the vertical launch, or VAB, which is the vehicle assembly building. Now you can see right here it's taxied right to the launch pad right there, so that's pretty straightforward. This is for rockets and things like that. Now you can transfer files between them. So like I've built planes in the space plane hangar and tested them and made sure that they were, you know, a really good design, and then moved that file for that craft into the vertical, or VAB, vehicle assembly building, and launched it vertically. You know, maybe added on some rockets or something to give it a little bit of oomph, a little bit of height, and that's always fun too. So, all right, and then this is your launch pad. Now you can click that and then select what you want to launch, which is pretty cool. So a lot of people don't know that. So if you just want to like launch something, you don't need to go to the VAB, load up a craft, and then go to the launch. You can just click on the launch pad. And then this is to manage all of your flights. So right now, only thing we have in orbit is the KISS. The KISS is in orbit right now with, I think the Dragonfly is still attached, unless I detached it. Let's see really quick. Yep. The Dragonfly is still attached on the bottom there. So that is the KISS right there. Anyway, so you want to make sure that you're very, very careful with space stations. You never want to hit end flight, because if you hit end flight, this thing will be gone. You want to go to the space center. So be careful with that. All right, let's get started on building a starter rocket, guys. So double click your VAB. We're going to get started with something very simple. Now, there's two different types of beginning pieces you want to kind of go with. There's capsules that have Kerbals in them. Some of them have one. Some of them have 3 Kerbals. Like this one is a larger one. It requires 1 to operate, but 3 are in it, so it's very interesting. This one has a crew capacity of 1, as you can see there in the lower right. You also have these unmanned modules, which are great for test flights and things. So for today, we're just going to build a really small rocket and get started. So I'm going to go with a really small capsule. This one only has 1 crew member. Okay. Start small in Kerbal. A lot of people think more rockets, and sometimes more rockets is fun, especially if you can stage it right. It makes it like you can really make some unique creations. But for Kerbal, you always want to go a little bit smaller. So All right, now under the control tab, I would recommend adding a SAS module. SAS modules really keep your ship stable and keep it under control, which is very, very helpful. What else do we need to start with? Definitely some kind of, actually, let's do a decoupler. Okay, let's do a decoupler, which is under structural. I kind of build my rockets like this just for fun. I don't really like crunch any numbers. I like to test them. That's part of Kerbal. You know, explosions are wonderful. So that is a decoupler right there, guys. So what that means is that when I stage this on the lower right-hand corner of the screen, which is the spacebar key, it will break away from the pod, okay? So that's what I want to do. That's my SAS module. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go under utility, and we're just going to put on a little parachute. Okay, little parachute right on the nose. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add another staging cycle on the right hand side of the screen here. So I'm going to add a parachute activate staging cycle. So now this will break away from the rest of the rocket, and then when I get within the atmosphere, I'll be able to hit spacebar again and activate the parachute, which is cool. Very cool. All right, so now we have our kind of re-entry solved. Now let's build a rocket. So we're going to need some fuel tanks. We don't need anything too beefy with this kind of a design. Let's start small, okay? And we'll add more onto it. But this is, like I said, this is how I like to build my rockets. Start small and go from there. Okay. Let's just say this is our rocket, guys. Okay. Yes, we have a lot of surface area to add more. And just for the sake of this, you know, tutorial here, we're just gonna start with this. Okay. So we'll call this. We'll just call this test 1. That's what we're gonna call it. Okay. Test 1. Let's go to launch. I want to explain all the mechanics and stuff on the screen here. Let's speed up time a little bit. I don't have the support struts. There's my little flag. See the flag really going? There we go. Okay, let's go to daytime here. All right, guys. So here is your basic screen for Kerbal Space Program. On the right-hand side of the screen on the bottom, you have your Kerbal that's inside of your rocket. You have an EVA, which will send your Kerbal outside the rocket. He'll actually grab on this little bit of ladder here, and you can add more ladders. We'll address that shortly. And then you have your IVA, which is inside of your rocket, the view that he can see. Some people that really get familiar with the game want to do missions with the cockpit view, which is cool. So it makes it interesting and challenging to try that. So you can hit V to toggle that as well. You got all these different camera angles, so you guys know. All right. Now, on the bottom of the screen is your nav ball. Now, right now, I am facing straight up, which is why I'm on the center of the nav ball. Basically, the blue is the sky or space, and the orange side of the nav ball is the gravitational pull of the planet. So right now, my rocket is pointed away, and the thrust will point it up towards the blue. Now, if I wanted to shoot back down to the planet, I just point it towards the orange, and we're good. So the next thing you want to do is you want to hit T. T will activate your SAS. That means your rocket will try and stay locked on this kind of trajectory, straight up. That's what I want. Okay. Then you want to hit Shift. Now, Shift and Control, left Shift and Control, activate your throttle there. You see that moving? So you want to go full throttle for launch. Now, to toggle on your main engine on the left side of the screen is spacebar. You're mainly hitting spacebar to go through your stages. So you want to make sure your staging is absolutely spot on, okay? Now, you can also see on the top here we have our atmosphere meter and actually the number of meters away from the surface. So it's a little, you know, we're 74 meters off the ground on the launch pad here. So now, some interesting things about Kerbal is that you want to start a gravity turn at a certain point once you get into the atmosphere. So I'd say around like 12,000 meters, you actually want to start turning in the direction you want to go. So let's say we were going to go to the moon. If you zoom out, you hit M, go to your map, and you can zoom out and you can kind of see the axis that the moon's on, or the mun. The mun is on a 90-degree axis, okay? You can see Minmus is on a different axis. So you want to adjust that accordingly and make sure that you're using your gravity turn to your best ability to line your orbit up with whatever planet you want to go to. Okay, now most of them are on a 90 degree for the most part. I mean, very, very subtle differences, but for the most part, it's 90 degrees. So I would recommend starting at 90 degrees, which is right here. I mean, you can go 270 the other direction if you want to. That works. But I just feel comfortable going with 90. So let's get started. We're full throttled up. SAS is on. I'm going to hit spacebar here to stage. It can be a little loud when you're zoomed in on the rockets, so make sure you adjust your sound accordingly. I usually keep my sound around 15%, and I usually turn the music off in the game because the music can get a little bit repetitive. I love it. I think it's great when you're in space. The ambient noise in space is so cool, and the little subtle music that they have in space is fantastic. But I've played so much Kerbal that I'm kind of over the soundtrack. So, all right, so what you want to do here is just hit spacebar and we're going up. All right, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. Very, very small rocket. Getting a lot of speed. Meters per second is flying. We're also burning through fuel. So this is just going to be a test flight. Chances are we're going down. It's pretty good chance that we're going down here, guys. Okay, you can see that my rocket is not going anywhere. It's very, very stable. Very stable. That's what we're looking for. Now we're not going to get that far up, okay? We're not going to get that far. So we got to make some modifications to this rocket. This rocket needs some more oomph. All right, we are approaching our gravity turn. So right around here, I'm going to start a turn to the right. And I'm going to use SAS to hold it. So I hit T again, activate it. And I'm going to go a little bit more aggressive. Now we are running out of fuel, but you can see here when I zoom all the way in, is that it's starting to push it out here. Okay. We're out of fuel. Now we're out of fuel. This is as far as we made it, okay? So we're not getting into orbit with this rocket. We need more push. We need more fuel. We need more power. Okay. But you can see what I did here is I went across the 90-degree axis and I pushed my path, my trajectory out a little bit. And what you want to do is, once you start your gravity turn, you want to get this apoap, which is your highest point from your trajectory that you're going. You want to get that above, I believe, 69,000 meters. Usually I go for higher just to be safe. You never know. 75, 80, usually 100 is what I go for, so I overdo it. But that would be considered, I guess, wasting energy. You only need above 69. As long as you're above 69, you're not going into the atmosphere on Kerbal, which is good. Okay, once you get to that point, like you can see our craft is on our way there, and it's going to be going back down. I have no more fuel to change my trajectory. So this is it. This is what we're doing. But once I would get near this apoap, which is the highest point, somewhere above 69,000, which right now it's like 64,240, that's when we would start our burn. And you would basically, you would move your rocket. So it was right on the point, you can see right here. Between orange and blue means you're pushing along. And you can see how the rocket's aligned along the surface of Kerbal right here. We would be pushing out our trajectory even further. Okay, so give you guys a little bit of example. We'll get started on that in a second. Let me just show everyone what happens here. I'm going to speed up time. It'll take a second. But we're going to re-enter real quick just to show you guys. Okay. So we're coming back in. We're re-entering the atmosphere. You see the atmosphere meter. We're going to see some re-entry effects. I like turning my craft accordingly. And I'm going to stage spacebar. There we go. There goes the rocket. Boom, shot it out. Okay, we're coming in fast. Okay, we're getting really low now. So I'm going to go and slow down time, which can be used by the period button and comma. Okay, you can speed up time with those two if you don't want to click up here. And we're getting really low. So I'm going to hit spacebar and I'm going to stage my parachute, guys. And there it is. Now, once we get to a certain height, it will actually deploy. Oops. So be careful. You don't want to be going too fast. So I waited as long as I possibly could because I knew that the atmosphere would actually slow down my pod to around 100 meters per second, and that's what it did. If you're going like 500 meters per second and you're within the atmosphere and you deploy your chute, that thing's gonna get ripped off, and you guys are dying. And there you go. Ribwin is coming in for a landing. So now we know that we need to make some adjustments to our rocket. Okay. Pretty simple stuff here. And you can keep landing, speed up time. We are cruising at a whopping 6 meters per second. Amazing. Almost splashdown. Okay, we have returned. We are back. Okay, you hit escape to bring this menu up, guys, and then you hit end flight. Okay, and that'll just get rid of it completely off the surface of Kerbal. Then we want to go back to the VAB. Okay, we know now that we need more oomph to get this thing into space. Oomph. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some radial decouplers, okay? I'm going to add 3 radial decouplers. All right. Just right around the sides here. And what I'm going to do now is add in a couple more of these little pods right here, okay? These little fuel tanks. Very cool. Okay, let's add in some more rockets. Okay, very good. Now, we have to pay attention to our staging, okay? These 3 rockets will fire first. Now, I want all the rockets to fire first, okay? Then once these tanks are empty, I want to deploy them, which is what these decouplers do. There's different types of decouplers, guys. There's flat ones that are much larger. Let's see. Flat ones that are much larger for bigger rockets, okay? We're just going to go with a very simple design here, though, okay? So, we have all the rockets firing right now. Now, what I like to do is I like to manage my fuel. Even though I have all the rockets going, I want this middle tank to be full when I deploy these other 3. These 3 are just to help me get higher up into space, okay? So, what I like to do is make sure that these rockets have a fuel line. Let's see, let me turn off this angle. Okay, there's also an angle thing, guys. And what I did, and let me explain, is I use symmetry. There's a symmetry button here, okay? Symmetry buttons make sure everything is aligned correctly. It's very important because if you don't use your symmetry button to place these things, you can actually cause your rocket to be all kinds out of whack. And when you go to launch, it'll be pulling left or right, or maybe you'll be spinning. So very important that you make sure you use the symmetry button whenever you can, if you can. Sometimes you can't for certain things. Down here you can see the center of lift, or I'm sorry, center of mass. This is the center of lift, which is obviously in the center. So, and you can see where the thrust is going to be coming from, right there. Okay. So anyway, back to these fuel tanks. I want to add in some fuel lines that will push all the fuel to make sure that this tank in the middle is always full. So connect what you want the fuel tank to push the fuel from into. So that way this middle tank will be full constantly, okay? So we're going to use all 4 of these boosters now to get me up even faster and higher. Let's run a test and see if that works, guys. All right, let's throttle up. Now we're going to hit T to SAS on. SAS is on. Everything looks good here. Our staging is good. We lose the 3 once they're out of fuel. All right, let's try this again, guys. 3, 2, 1. Now you'll notice that these 3 right here on the left, these 3 tanks will go down a lot faster because the fuel is being pushed into the center. Now we could also do what's called asparagus staging. We could have 4 rockets and have 2 of them deploy first, then another 2. It's very cool. A lot of the different creative ways you can build rockets in this game. It's very fun. So you can see we got a lot of speed. We're cruising. Okay. We're at 10,000 already. Amazing. 11,000. We're flying. I'm going to make my gravity turn along the 90-degree mark. Got a little bit of spin there. Okay, our 3 rockets are out, guys, so you want to hit spacebar here. Boom, deployed. Now this middle tank is full. Spin this back, there we go. Trying to stay along the 90-degree axis as much as we can. And we're gonna pull out to our map, you hit M, to look at our Apple app. Again, we want it above 69,000 is what we're looking for here. Okay, so 75 is good. 76, there we go. So now we have half a tank of fuel, and we already have our Apple app set up. So now we're gonna try and pull off an orbit here, guys. It doesn't need to be a perfect orbit, but basically what you want to do is push this Apple app out to the other side. So then this would become your peri app, which is your lowest point. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we're good. All right, 75. Let's cruise it on up. Let's speed up time a little bit. You can also hit the decimal point button on your numpad to bring up your nav ball on the map. I had to learn that the hard way one day by hitting like every key on my keyboard. Like, where did my nav ball go? I couldn't click on the actual button here above the nav ball. This little arrow thing. I couldn't click on it because I was playing full screen windowed for some reason. It was like off the screen. I don't know why. So decimal point on your numpad will bring that up and close it. So, all right, that's where we want to be, right around there, 90 degrees. And we're approaching our Apple app. Let's hit M. Let's see our height. We're above 69,000 right now. So I'm going to start a burn now. So I'm going to throttle up, and you're going to see this really push out here, guys. Now, I don't know how far we're going to get with this little design, but that's what Kerbal's all about, test flights. Test flights and having a good time, in my opinion. So, all right, still going strong. Oh, we're burning through fuel quickly. Okay, you can see it's pushing out. Oh, let's look at our numbers here. What do we got? A peri up of 39, and that's at 130. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, instead of continuing the burn at this angle, I want to get the most out of my fuel. I'm going to cruise back over to my Apple app. Since we're pushing that out and wasting energy, I don't care. I don't need this out more. I need this out more. Okay, so I am going to cruise over to my Apple app, which I'm going to speed up time again until we get a little bit closer, and then we'll get our ship lined up, our spacecraft lined up for another orbital burn. All right, there we go, guys. Getting a little bit closer. Okay, so I'm gonna hit T, turn off SAS. Very important you turn that off. You're gonna be trying to maneuver your spacecraft with WASD, and it's not gonna work because you have SAS on. Hit T to lock it in. Once you're locked in, guys, cruise a little bit faster till you get closer to your Apple app. Okay, once you're close, you want to start burning. You can burn from the map. Get used to this screen, because this screen, once you get used to this screen, you're ready for Kerbal. This is where you're going to be most of the time in Kerbal. You're not going to be looking at your craft that much. So, all right, I'm starting a very, very slow burn. I'm trying to get above 69, and we're above. There we go. We have achieved a successful orbit, okay? Now, just to explain a couple of things here, guys. On the nav ball, there is this icon right here. It has it's a circle with 3 little things sticking out of the sides. That's called your prograde. So if I wanted to burn and push out, that's the way I wanted to go. But let's say I wanted to bring in. Let's say I wanted to bring in and come in for a landing, okay? Like right now, I am stuck up in space, and I'm going to be orbiting like forever. This one right here has the 3 lines sticking out of the circle, and it has an X through it. This is called your retrograde burn. So if I wanted to burn in this direction, which is essentially backwards now, I've adjusted my craft to be backwards. I would be slowing my my orbit down. Okay. So, let's give that a go. Let's cruise over to our peri app. It probably would be better to bring in our peri app. So let's actually cruise all the way back around and go to our Apple app, because our Apple app is our highest point and our peri-app is our lowest point, it would make sense to burn retro at our apo-app because we would waste less energy. This is already at 130. This is at 80. So yeah, let's go around to our apo-app, burn retrograde there, and that will bring this in so we get a landing maybe over the ground or something. We can test that out. Now remember that Kerbal has an atmosphere, so when you enter, you're going to need to shoot further ahead. Okay? If you don't do that, then you're probably going to come up a little short. So let's see if we can do this here. Okay, I'm set up for a retrograde burn. I'm very, very low fuel, so we'll see what happens here. Okay, I'm set up retro. I'm going to keep an eye on my peri-app over here. I want to see what happens. So here we go. Just bringing it in. I'm going very slowly. Okay, we're already in within the atmosphere. So we're already going to be coming in for a landing. But I just want to see if I can maybe... Nope, we're going to be over the ocean. Okay, so that's it, guys. We have a little bit of fuel left, and we're coming in for a landing. So what I'm going to do now is, because we've achieved a successful orbit with this spacecraft, is I'm going to make sure I have hit X to lower your throttle all the way. I always use X. I don't hit control. There's lots of times where you need to throttle up and use your throttle very, very specifically, you know, like for a landing or something. You want to be very careful. And I use X a lot more than I use control and shift, just to shut off the throttle. So hit X, make sure everything's off, because if you detach your engine and it's still powered up a little bit, it's a good chance that it could destroy your entire craft. Not good, not good. All right, so I'm going to hit spacebar here, and we're staging. Okay. Now we already have our projected path. Now, hopefully that will allow that piece to be as far away from me as possible, because we've actually pushed it out, and it's going to be going that way for some time. And by the time we get to our landing zone, it will be well far away from me. So let's do it. Let's speed up time here. Okay. Okay, now it's going to slow me down because I'm getting ready to enter the atmosphere, and the game knows that. So it's already taken the liberty of slowing down my entry. So now I'm going to go ahead and speed it up again because we're good. We're going to start burning up in the atmosphere here and come in. Whew. You can see it's very sensitive. So I'm going to hit caps lock here, and you can see on the little left side of the screen the controls turn to blue. That's called the sensitive controls, or fine-tune controls they call it. So because my craft has like no mass and it's so easy to turn and navigate, that I'd rather use the fine-tune controls a little bit more, so it doesn't like whip my craft all the way around. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna be coming in for a landing, and it's going to be, oh, we might actually be okay here. Yeah, you can see it's, yeah, we're gonna get over some land. Yeah, there's our re-entry animations. Very cool looking. Very cool. And yeah, we're gonna come in for an actual land. Successful land landing. Alright, here we go. Getting slow enough. I'm gonna deploy the chute around 100 meters. There we go. Another successful mission for Ribwin Kerbal. He looks thrilled. Yes, absolutely. Alright, guys. Well, that has been a look at Kerbal. Whoa, whoa, because I had speed up there. There we go. Get up, buddy. That has been a look at Kerbal space programs, getting started with building your first rocket, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button or subscribe to my channel if you guys did. Thank you so much, and take care.